And this lesson, you'll be able to apply what you learn about the different angle pairs to help you find angle measures. So you'll want that that cheat sheet out to help you if you don't recall the different types of angle pairs. So if you could draw this diagram, pause the video if you need to do that. The first one that we're going to go over is to name a pair of complementary angles. So remember, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So if I'm looking at my diagram, I notice there's only one right angle symbol. It's right here. So I know angle 1 is a 90-degree angle, and angle 1 forms along this line right here. So, and has this side right here. So if angle 1 is the right angle, then since it's forming with this purple line, then the angle that's right on the opposite side of angle 1, so right over here, this green angle that I'm sketching, that's also going to have to be 90 degrees because they have to add up to 180. Remember, those are two angles forming along a straight line, must add up to 180. So I know those are a linear pair, they got to add up to 180, so they're both 90. So the complementary angles then are going to be angle 5 and angle 2. Because when I add those up, I better get 90 because that's to measure that green angle. So this will be angle 5 and angle 2 for that one. Number 2, name two angles that make a linear pair. So remember, a linear pair, you have two adjacent angles that form along a straight line. So let me erase what I have drawn here. So in this example, here is a straight line. Notice, and here's another straight line. Angle 3 and angle 2 satisfy that. So those are two adjacent angles that form along that blue line. So we could say angle 2 and angle 3. So that's one pair, but there's another one. If we look, when you erase this, if we look at that purple line that I had there, so if we look along here, there's also angles 4 and angle 3. Those also are linear pair because those are two adjacent angles that form along that purple line. So they form that straight line. So I could say angle 3 and angle 4. So remember, a linear pair adds up to 180. So angles 3 and 4 would add up to 180, and so would angles 2 and 3. Number 3, name a pair of vertical angles. So remember, vertical angles share that common vertex. So this would be one vertex. And it would be the angle that's sort of the mirror of this angle. So the mirror of that angle would be angle 2. So angle 4 and angle 2 for that one. And that's the only set of vertical angles that we have in this diagram. So angle 4 and angle 2, those are vertical angles. 3 is not vertical with 1 because this 3 would be vertical with this whole piece right here. So, so we don't have a relationship for angle 3. Number 4. So now let's use what we know to find some angle measures. So 4, if the measure of angle 4 is 43 degrees, so this is 43, then find the measure of angle 2. So we want this measure. So let's look at the relationships that we identified earlier. Which of those relationships relates 4 and 2 together? So if you notice, number 3, 4 and 2 are vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, meaning they have the same measure. So I'm going to write 43 degrees for that one. So I'm going to erase. Number 5, the measure of angle 2 is 33 degrees. Find the measure of angle 5. So this is 33 right here, the measure of angle 2. We want the measure of angle 5. So if you notice in number 1, that was one of the relationships that we identified. We said that those were complementary angles. So if I want to find the measure of angle 5, I know that it's complementary with angle 2. What we could do is we could say complementary means they add up to 90. So I'm going to say 90 minus 33. And that's going to get me the measure of angle 5. So this would be 57 degrees. And then the last one. If the measure of angle 2 is 37 degrees, find the measure of angle 3. So again, I'm going to erase just so we can work with this one. So the measure 2 and 3, how are those related? So let's look. We said that those were a linear pair. So they have to add up to 180. So here's 2 is 37 degrees. And then here's angle 3. So we don't know that, but we know that those must add up to 180. So what we could do is we could take 180 and subtract off 37. So you get 143 degrees for that one. So we just used the fact that those were a linear pair. They added up to 180, so we subtract off 37. That would get you 143 degrees. Example 7. We want the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2. So if you could draw this diagram for number 7. So we know this angle down here is 107. And we need to find both angles, the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2. So what we could do is find the measure of angle 1 first. So notice 107 and angle 1. So 107 degrees and angle 1. Those form a relationship. Those are, remember, if I took line B and moved it on top of line A, those are what we call the corresponding angles. They would be in the same spot if I was to move line B on top of line A. So those are corresponding angles, meaning that they have the same angle measure. So this is 107 degrees. And then angle 2, so I'm going to erase, I know this is 107. Angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair because those angles form along line A. So if we want to find the measure of angle 2, a linear pair adds up to 180. So we'll say 180, subtract 107, and we'd get 73 degrees. So we have angle 1 is 107, 107 degrees, and angle 2 is 73 degrees. Number 8. So if you could make sure you sketch, let's go and zoom in a little bit. Number 8, sketch this for number 8. So we're given that this angle here is 61 degrees. And from here, there's a lot of different ways that we can start this problem off. Knowing your angle relationships. So maybe start with angle 5. If we know that this angle is 61, well, angle 5 and angle 61 degrees form along a straight line. So we know it's got to add up to 180. So we could say for the measure of angle 5, it's going to be 180 subtract 61, which is 119. So we could say the measure of angle 5 is 119 degrees. So I'm just going to write that in, 119. And then my suggestion is, we know vertical angles, right? If 61 is vertical with angle 6, so we would know angle 6 is also going to be 61. And then apply your vertical angles again. Angle 5 is vertical with angle 7, so that would be 119. And now we just got to find angles 1 through 4. From there, there's a lot of different ways that you could go. I'm going to say let's go ahead and use the corresponding angles. So corresponding angles. Angle 61 would be corresponding with angle 1. Remember, if I move line B on top of line A, those angles would be in the same position. So this would be 61 degrees. So angle 1 is 61 degrees. And then notice angles 1 and 2 form a linear pair. Those are two angles forming along a straight line. So those have to add up to 180. So for the measure of angle 2, I'm just going to show it. It's going to be 180 subtract 61, which is 119. It's the same exact calculation as we had before for the measure of angle 5. This will be 119. And then use your vertical angles. So angle 1 is vertical with angle 3. So angle 3 is going to be 61 degrees. And then angle 2 is vertical with angle 4. So if this is 119, then this is also 119. So definitely we used corresponding angles a lot. We used linear pairs frequently and vertical angles frequently. So those are a lot of the common angle pairs that are going to keep on coming up. Linear pair, vertical angles, corresponding angles. We're going to want to be familiar with what those are. For the next 4, we're going to refer to this diagram right here. So we have this large angle, angle ABD, is a right angle, and it's split by this ray. So it splits it into 2 angles. So we know that the whole angle measures 90. Number 9, if measure of ABC, so ABC is 59, find the measure of this angle. So what we're going to use the fact that these angles need to add up to 90. So we'll say 90 subtract 59 is 31. So this will be 31 degrees. Number 10 is going to be very similar to how we did number 9. Except this time we know DBC is 17, and we need to find this angle. So we're going to do it the same way we did before. We know that those angles form a right angle. So if we take our 90-degree angle and subtract off 17, we'll get the measure of angle CBA. So that will be 73 degrees. So I'm going to erase this. 11. So if the measure of angle ABD is 4x, then find x. So here's ABD. And they're telling us ABD is 4x. So this whole angle is 4x. So I'm going to take 4x. But we know that this is a right angle. We were given the right angle symbol there. So I'm going to take 4x and set it equal to 90. And then just solve that for x. So divide both sides by 4. So this would be a decimal. So if you divide 90 by 4, or if you divide 90 by 4, you end up getting 22.5. And then number 12. So erase this. Again, remember, ABD is a 90-degree angle. It says if ABC is 2x plus 23, so here's ABC, and CBD is x plus 2, so that's this one right down there, find x. So we're going to use the fact that these 2 angles are complementary. They add up to 90 degrees. So we'll add these 2 and set it equal to 90. So we'll say 2x plus 23 plus x plus 2 equals 90. And then we're just going to solve that. So just remove the parentheses. So 2x plus 23 plus x plus 2 equals 90. So combine like terms. So 2x plus x is 3x. 23 plus 2 is 25. Equals 90. And then subtract 25 from both sides. So I get 3x equals 65. Divide both sides by 3, and you're going to get a decimal here too. So about 21.7 is x. So if angle ABC is 119, then find the measure of angle CBD. Again, we're using the fact that these 2 angles have a relationship. So this angle and that angle, that's a linear pair. They have to add up to 180. So if I know ABC, so this angle right here is 119, what is this angle? So I'll just do 180, subtract 119, and that will get me what this missing angle is. So it's going to be 61 degrees. Number 14. If ABC is 5x plus 5, so 5x plus 5, and CBD is x plus 15, then find x. So again, we know these have to add up to 180 because they're a linear pair. So what we can do to find x is we'll just add our two angles up together, set it equal to 180, and solve. So I would have 5x plus 5 plus x plus 15 equals 180. So I'm going to combine like terms. 5x plus x. 5x plus x is 6x. And then 5 plus 15 is 20. So this would be 6x plus 20 equals 180. Subtract 20 from both sides. So I get 6x is 160. Divide both sides by 6. So I'm going to get x equals 26.7. So that's my answer for the second one, is x equals 26.7. So find the value of x. So these angles, I have 4x and I have 8x minus 60. Notice they share this endpoint and one angle is a mirror of the other. So these angles would be vertical angles. Vertical angles have the same measure. So this will be 4x. We'll set 4x equal to 8x minus 60. So vertical angles have the same measure. So we're going to set those equal to each other and then solve. There's a lot of different ways to solve this. I'm going to subtract 8x from both sides. So 4x minus 8x, that's negative 4x equals negative 60. And then divide both sides by negative 4. I'm going to get x equals 15. So be careful when you have a negative in front of your x, you're dividing both sides by a negative. So here we get x equals 15. So this does it for finding measures of angles pairs. Again, we saw a lot of repetition in these. We saw vertical angles were used frequently. Linear pairs were used frequently. Complementary angles were used a little bit. Supplementary angles were used a lot. So just remember, it's a lot of using the vocabulary. So if you need that cheat sheet out, please use it. There's an assignment in Math Excel for you to try. It's called Finding Measures of Angle Pairs.